Mark Zuckerberg was born on May 14, 1984, in a quiet town called White Plains, New York. From a young age, he was not like most children around him. While others spent their time playing outside all day, Mark was more interested in understanding how things worked, especially computers. His father was a dentist, and his mother was a psychiatrist, so he grew up in a home where learning and thinking were very important. This environment helped shape his mind in a unique way. Even as a child, he showed signs of deep focus and curiosity. He liked solving problems and would spend hours thinking about small ideas that later became big ones. When Mark was still very young, his father introduced him to computers. This moment changed his life. Instead of just using the computer for games, Mark became interested in how the computer actually worked. He started learning programming at a very early age. Programming is like giving instructions to a computer, and Mark quickly became very good at it. By the time he was a teenager, he had already created simple software programs. One of his early creations was a messaging program that allowed computers in his home and his father's office to communicate with each other. This showed that his mind was already thinking about connection and communication, ideas that would later become very important in his life. As Mark grew older, his personality became clearer. He was quiet and calm, but very determined. He did not talk much, but he thought a lot. He had a strong ability to focus on one thing for a long time without getting distracted. This is something that many people find difficult, but for Mark, it came naturally. He enjoyed working alone, especially when he was coding. Coding gave him a sense of control because he could build something from nothing using just his ideas and logic. This made him feel powerful in a quiet way. In school, Mark was known as a smart student. He was especially good at subjects like mathematics and science. But what made him different was not just his intelligence, it was the way he used it. He did not just study to pass exams, he studied to understand deeply. He always asked questions like, "Why does this work?" and "How can this be better?" This way of thinking pushed him to go beyond what he was taught in class. He even took extra classes in programming to improve his skills. His teachers noticed that he was special, not just because he was smart, but because he was driven by curiosity. Mark also had a creative side. While many people think of programming as only logical, Mark saw it as a way to create something new. He liked building tools that could help people connect and share information. Even before he became famous, his ideas were already moving in that direction. He was not just thinking about computers, he was thinking about people and how technology could bring them together. As he entered his teenage years, Mark's confidence in his abilities grew. He knew he was good at programming, and he believed he could build something important. This belief was not loud or showy. It was quiet but strong. He did not need to tell everyone what he could do. He simply focused on doing it. This mindset, combined with his skills, set the foundation for everything that would come next in his life. As Mark continued to grow, the way his mind worked became even more clear. He did not see problems as obstacles, but as puzzles waiting to be solved. When he faced a challenge, he did not get frustrated easily. Instead, he became more focused. He would break the problem into smaller parts and work on each part step by step. This made even difficult problems feel manageable to him. His thinking was very logical, almost like a machine, but at the same time, it was creative. He could imagine new ideas and then use logic to bring those ideas to life. One thing that made Mark different was how deeply he could concentrate. When he was working on something, especially coding, he could spend many hours without stopping. He would forget about time, food, and even sleep sometimes. This level of focus allowed him to move faster than others. While many people needed breaks or got distracted, Mark stayed locked in on his work. This helped him learn quickly and build things that others his age could not. His mind was always active, always thinking about how to improve what he was doing. Mark also believed in keeping things simple. When he created something, he did not want it to be complicated. He wanted it to be easy for people to use and understand. This idea of simplicity became a big part of how he thought. He believed that the best solutions were often the simplest ones. Instead of adding many features, he focused on making a few things work really well. This mindset later helped him create products that millions of people could use without confusion. Another important part of his thinking was speed. Mark believed that it was better to act quickly than to wait too long trying to make something perfect. He understood that mistakes are part of the process. Instead of fearing failure, he accepted it. If something did not work, he would fix it and move forward. This made him very fast in building and improving ideas. While others were still planning, Mark was already testing and learning from real results. Mark also had a strong belief in building things that connect people. Even before he created anything big, his ideas often involved communication and sharing. He thought about how people interact and how technology could make those interactions easier. This showed that his mind was not only focused on technology but also on human behavior. He understood that people want to connect, share, and feel part of something larger. When it came to making decisions, Mark trusted his own thinking. He listened to others, but he was not easily influenced. If he believed in an idea, he would follow it, even if others disagreed. This made him bold in a quiet way. He did not need approval from everyone. He believed that if he stayed true to his vision, the results would speak for themselves. His way of thinking also included long-term vision. While many people focused on short-term success, Mark was thinking about the future. He imagined how technology would change over time and tried to build things that would last. This gave him an advantage because he was not just solving today's problems, he was preparing for tomorrow's world. When Mark entered Harvard University, his mind was already full of ideas. He was not just there to study, he was there to build. While many students focused only on classes, Mark spent much of his time working on coding projects. He saw the university as a place full of opportunities, especially because it had thousands of students who were all connected in some way. This made him think deeply about how people interact and how technology could make those connections stronger and easier. During his time at Harvard, Mark created small projects that showed how his thinking was different. One of them was a program that allowed students to see and compare photos of each other. It became very popular in a short time, even though it also caused some problems. Instead of being discouraged by the issues, Mark learned from the experience. He understood that people were interested in connecting and sharing information about themselves. This idea stayed in his mind and grew stronger. Soon after, Mark started working on a bigger idea, something that would later become known as Facebook. His goal was simple, but powerful. He wanted to create a platform where people could connect, share, and communicate easily. At first, it was only for students at Harvard. But the way Mark thought made him see beyond just one school. He believed that this idea could work for many universities, and even for the whole world. What made Mark successful during this time was not just his idea, but his mindset. He moved very fast. While others might spend months planning, Mark was already building and testing. He believed that it was better to launch something simple and improve it over time. This helped him grow Facebook quickly. As more students joined, he kept improving the platform based on what users wanted. He paid close attention to how people used it and made changes to make it better. Mark also showed a strong willingness to take risks. Leaving Harvard to focus on Facebook was not an easy decision. It meant giving up a traditional path for something uncertain. But Mark trusted his vision. He believed that what he was building was important and had the potential to change how people connect. This confidence pushed him forward, even when the future was unclear. As Facebook started growing, Mark faced many challenges. There were technical problems, competition, and even legal issues. But instead of giving up, he stayed focused. His mind was trained to solve problems, so he treated each challenge as something to work through. He remained calm and continued building, improving the platform step by step. Another important part of his journey was his ability to stay true to his vision. Even as Facebook became more popular, Mark did not lose sight of his main goal, which was to connect people. He did not let short-term problems change his direction. This strong sense of purpose helped him guide the company through difficult times. By the time Facebook expanded beyond universities and opened to the public, it was already clear that Mark had created something powerful. His way of thinking, focused, fast, and driven by purpose, had turned a simple idea into a platform that was beginning to change the world. As Facebook continued to grow, Mark Zuckerberg found himself in a new role, not just as a creator, but as a leader. This required a different way of thinking. Building something on your own is very different from leading a large group of people, but Mark adapted quickly. He remained calm and focused, even as the company grew bigger and more complex. His leadership style was simple and direct. He did not like unnecessary rules or long meetings. Instead, he encouraged people to move fast and focus on building useful things. Mark believed in giving people the freedom to create. He trusted his team and allowed them to try new ideas without fear. This created an environment where people felt comfortable experimenting. At the same time, he expected high performance. He wanted his team to work hard and think deeply, just like he did. This balance between freedom and responsibility became a key part of how he led the company. He did not try to control every small detail, but he always kept a clear vision of where the company should go. One of the most important parts of Mark's leadership was how he handled pressure. As Facebook became more popular, more people started watching everything he did. There was pressure from users, investors, governments, and the media. Many leaders might feel overwhelmed in such situations, but Mark stayed steady. He did not react quickly to every criticism. Instead, he took time to think and respond carefully. His calm nature helped him make decisions without panic, even during difficult moments. Mark also believed strongly in long-term thinking. While many companies focus on quick profits, he focused on building something that would last for many years. This meant making decisions that were not always easy or popular in the short term. For example, he invested heavily in new ideas and technologies, even when they did not bring immediate results. He understood that real success takes time, and he was willing to wait and keep improving. As the company grew, Mark worked hard to keep control over its direction. He wanted to make sure that the original vision of connecting people was not lost. Even when other people suggested different paths, he stayed true to what he believed was right. This strong sense of direction helped the company stay focused, even as it expanded into new areas. Later, Facebook became part of a larger company known as Meta Platforms, but Mark's core ideas remained the same. Another important part of his leadership was his ability to learn. Even though he was the leader, he knew he did not have all the answers. He listened to feedback from his team and from users. When something did not work, he tried to understand why and find a better solution. This willingness to learn helped him grow as a leader over time. Through all the changes and challenges, Mark's mindset stayed consistent. He focused on building, improving, and thinking ahead. His leadership was not loud or dramatic, but it was steady and clear. This helped him guide his company through growth, challenges, and constant change without losing direction. As the company grew bigger and reached billions of people around the world, challenges also became bigger and more serious. Mark Zuckerberg began to face criticism from many sides. People started to question how the platform handled user data, privacy, and information sharing. Some believed that the platform had too much power and influence. These issues created difficult moments for Mark, where his decisions were closely watched and often criticized. It was no longer just about building a product. It was about managing responsibility on a global level. One of the biggest lessons during this time came from mistakes related to user privacy. There were situations where data was not protected as well as it should have been. This led to public concern and loss of trust among some users. Mark had to step forward and address these problems. Instead of ignoring them, he accepted that mistakes had been made. He spoke publicly, explained the situation, and promised to make improvements. This showed a different side of his mindset, one that was willing to take responsibility and learn from failure. Handling criticism was not easy, but Mark did not run away from it. He faced questions from governments, the media, and the public. At times, the pressure was intense, but he remained calm. His approach was to listen, understand the problem, and then work on solutions. He did not always get everything right, but he kept moving forward. This ability to stay focused during difficult times helped him continue leading the company even when trust was being tested. These experiences changed the way Mark thought about his work. In the early days, his main focus was on growth and connection. But over time, he began to think more about responsibility and impact. He realized that building a platform used by billions of people comes with serious consequences. Decisions made by the company could affect societies, politics, and even personal lives. This understanding pushed him to take a more careful and thoughtful approach. Mark also learned the importance of adapting. The world of technology changes very fast, and what works today may not work tomorrow. Instead of staying stuck in old ways, he adjusted his thinking. He invested more in safety, security, and new technologies. He also worked on improving how the platform handled content and user interactions. These changes were not always perfect, but they showed a clear effort to grow and improve. Another lesson from this period was patience. Fixing large problems takes time, especially in a company that operates on such a global scale. Mark understood that there were no quick solutions. He focused on making steady progress, step by step. This required discipline and long-term thinking, qualities that had always been part of his mindset. Through mistakes and criticism, Mark's thinking became more balanced. He was no longer just a builder focused on speed and growth. He became a leader who also considered impact, responsibility, and trust. These lessons shaped how he approached the future, making him more aware of both the power and the risks of what he was creating. As time moved forward, Mark Zuckerberg began to focus more on the future than ever before. His mind was no longer only on social media as people knew it, but on what could come next. He believed that the internet would change again, just like it had changed before. This belief led him to think about a new kind of digital world, where people could interact in deeper and more immersive ways. This idea became known as the metaverse, a space where people could meet, work, play, and create using virtual technology. For Mark, the metaverse was not just a trend or a short-term project. It was a long-term vision that could take many years to fully develop. This showed how his thinking had always been focused on the future. While others might wait until something becomes popular, Mark preferred to build early and shape what comes next. He understood that creating something new at this level would require time, money, and patience. Even if people did not fully understand it at first, he believed it would become important over time. To support this vision, Facebook changed its name to Meta Platforms. This was more than just a name change. It was a signal that the company was moving in a new direction. Mark wanted people to see that the focus was now on building the future of digital connection, not just maintaining what already existed. This decision was bold and risky, but it matched his mindset of thinking ahead and acting early. Mark also continued to invest in new technologies like virtual reality and augmented reality. These tools were important for building the metaverse. He believed that in the future, people would not just look at screens, but would feel like they are inside digital spaces. This idea required a lot of innovation, and not everything worked perfectly. But Mark stayed committed. He understood that big ideas often take time to succeed. At the same time, he remained aware of the lessons he had learned in the past. As he built for the future, he also thought about responsibility. He knew that new technology could bring both opportunities and challenges. This made him more careful in how he approached development. He wanted to create something powerful, but also something that could be used in a positive way. What stood out most about Mark's mindset at this stage was his persistence. Even when people doubted his ideas or questioned his decisions, he did not stop. He listened, learned, and continued building. His confidence was not based on quick success, but on a deep belief in his vision. He understood that not everyone would agree with him, but he was willing to take that risk. In the end, Mark's journey showed how his mind worked from the very beginning. He was always focused, curious, and driven by ideas. From a young boy learning to code to a leader building the future of technology, his thinking remained strong and consistent. He believed in creating, improving, and looking ahead. This way of thinking is what allowed him to build something that changed how people connect, and it is what continues to guide him as he looks toward the future.